Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA San Diego Comic-Con 2016 convention exclusive Cloaked Scar Predator. If you follow the NECA releases, you know that the 2016 exclusives were a pain in the butt to get for anybody not going to the convention, because literally the only way to get your hands on them were by going to secondary sellers, people usually scalping the prices on these things. So after getting Newt, because I absolutely had to have that figure, and then by the time I'm recording this, they've actually announced a more generalized release for that piece. I wasn't really originally planning to pick this figure up because I knew it was going to be pricey, I knew he was going to be harder to find, and I just didn't want to deal with it. But I was out at Tampa Bay Comic Con a couple weeks ago and saw one of the sellers there that had a decent price on him, so I decided to pick him up, and now I'm able to review him for you guys. If you've seen the Masked Scar Predator review, you're not going to see a whole lot different, but there are a couple little tweaks besides the obvious, so let's take a closer look. We get a lot of accessories that should look very familiar. We have the ceremonial dagger done in a clear plastic this time, but all the same great details there, the serrated edges, the split down the middle, the little hooked piece back here on the end of the hilt. We do have a sheath here on the Predator's leg, and just like the normal version, it slides right in there for easy storage. We also get a clear shuriken. You can see it still has all the same detailing on it, but done in this clear plastic. I'm also a little worried. The clear plastic usually tends to be a little more gummy and a little more fragile, so I'm kind of just worried that this is going to end up breaking because it's kind of a fragile piece to begin with, so we're going to be extra careful with this. We also get a clear combi stick, the extended version. Looks pretty good. Because it is softer material, it came a little warped out of the package, but I don't really feel like I'm going to display Scar with this too often, so I'm probably not even going to really bother straightening it out, at least for the time being, but still a nicely detailed piece. Now, the reason to buy this set, the biggest cool thing besides just having a Cloaked Predator, is the little holographic display that you could have coming out of the wrist computer. Something we've never even had the opportunity to do on a Predator previously, and I'm really happy with how this came out. We zoom in super closer, you can see it's a really nice sculpt of the temple, the pyramid, all the different little details in there, just really well done for such a small piece. The top is painted red, and that kind of fades down into a pinkish as it goes into the clear plastic, and then you can see underneath there's kind of a little notched section here at the bottom. If you take the wrist computer, those notches here are designed to plug right into those pre-existing little computer panels there, so you just line it up and it pops right onto the wrist gauntlet. I am slightly disappointed NECA didn't give us a slight retool of the head sculpt for this Predator. We do get the actual scarred Scar Predator. He has the mark up here on his biomask. I was kind of hoping we'd get an unscarred version, just so that it was more in line with the beginning of the film, when they're killing people in the Arctic village, rather than more towards the end once he already has the scar. But it's the exact same sculpt we got previously, all the same details in there. You can still see kind of the hammered look there in the clear plastic. The dreadlocks still look pretty good. They're still pretty free-flowing back here. Once again, this plastic's also a little gummier, so you actually get a really good range of motion with everything. It's really hard to talk much about it because we've already seen this sculpt many times, and there's no paint apps to really speak of for the most part. We do have his backpack back here with the little arm on here. We also do get a plasma caster. I actually didn't attach it this time just so I could give you a better look at it. Pretty nicely detailed. Once again, something he doesn't get until later in the film. So my version, I'm going to kind of pretend the scar is not there, pretend he's from earlier in the movie. I'm going to leave the plasma caster off when I display it. But if you do want it on, all you got to do is extend this piece out. There's a peg at the end, and that pops right onto the arm. So you can slide that up, you can rotate the gun itself, you could hinge about halfway down, you could also rotate that at the base, so you get a really good range of motion with the plasma caster, which you definitely gotta appreciate. We do have the C-clip back here for the combi stick, but since we have the fully extended one, I'm not gonna put that on him. All the same armor detailing here, soft rubber pieces that are also clear mixed in with the harder plastics, soft rubber shoulder pads. I always appreciate that NECA's able to still do layers and keep that nice clear plastic on here so that you can't necessarily see through it. I mean, obviously you can't see my hand really behind the Predator, but it still does have that crystal clear look. Of course, you do want to keep this out of the sun because that could change real quick if he's exposed to too much sunlight. We have the bandolier here. Now, instead of using a string, it's clear plastic. Then we have all the little skulls on there. We have the chest armor. When we come down the arm, you can see the one other piece of painting work on here. We have some blood on the blades. Now, it comes off a little pink on camera, but it is nice and red in real life. And to me, this is a very iconic moment from the beginning of the film where you see the extended blades and kind of the outlined silhouette of being cloaked with the blood on them. him, and that made me very, very happy that we were getting this with this figure. I think I predicted it back when I was reviewing the first version of Scar that we might get this one day. Just like any of the other Predators, these are removable. You really wouldn't want to interchange them with any of the non-cloaked Predators, I don't think, but you could pop them off and just have no blades, or you could put them on a different Predator if you really wanted to. Scar has a fist here on his right side, and we have a gripping hand here on his left. You do have the wrist computer we already talked about. There is the metal hinge in here, which is a little distracting from the clear plastic of everything else, but of course if that wasn't metal, it probably would have a tendency to just break, so necessary compromise, I guess. Going down, we have his belt with all the little extra shurikens and pouches all over it. The armored flap here at the back, as well as the loincloth underneath. Armor bits going down onto his legs with a strap around his legs. The netting is sculpted in there, obviously not painted because it doesn't need to be. His big chunky shin armor, and then his clear sandals on his Predator feet, and we still do get peg holes here at the bottom. For articulation, it's exactly what you'd expect with a normal Predator. You get a ball joint at the neck, up, down, left and right, tilt side to side. Really good range of motion. Does kind of knock the backpack around if you're not careful. Pin socket shoulders, they'll go forward, back, as well as out to the side. As always, this plastic's a little more fragile, so be very careful manipulating the joints on this figure. Just be careful not to rip anything. Get an upper bicep swivel. Get nice double jointed elbows. We have a rotation there at the base of the gauntlet. We have a ball joint there at the wrist. The upper torso ball joint will go a little forward and back, also rotate side to side and tilt. We also get a ball joint at the waist, so you can swivel side to side, move a little forward and back. Pin socket legs, they'll go forward, back, out to the side, rotate at the upper leg. Have a double jointed knee. You can also kind of rotate there as well. And a ball joint there at the foot. For a comparison, here's our Cloaked Predator next to his painted regular version. I did put the hologram accessory on the original version, and while I thought there was no new tooling here on the wrist, apparently there is a little bit. The Cloaked Predator seems to have deeper grooves inside of the wrist gauntlet, so the hologram effect actually plugs into his wrist. The original version has much shallower little computer ports on there, so I can only really rest the hologram on there. I can't get it to plug in and stay fixed. So that is a bit of a bummer. I was really hoping it would be an accessory that all the Predators can use without any issue, but that doesn't turn out to be the case. So I really like this figure as a cool variant, but not necessarily as a Comic-Con exclusive that you're gonna have to pay crazy money for. And I guess maybe it is the right kind of thing for Comic-Con because it's not quite different enough. But from the point of view where you're going to have to go out and probably pay some scalper price for it, he's not worth that. But he does get a recommend, just not a particularly strong one given the circumstances around his release. If you weren't able to get your hands on him from Comic-Con, maybe don't bother. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, we're Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.